It's Wednesday, July 15. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. Entertainment, culture, the creative industries, including sports, contributes approximately $195 billion to the Jamaican economy each year. It also employs 76,000 people. The COVID-19 pandemic directly and indirectly impacted their livelihoods due to the postponement or cancellation of a number of events. The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports has developed a number of proposals and implemented a number of initiatives to gradually reopen the sector and put the industries on the road to recovery. Marlon Samuels has more in this report.
The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic has been choking the lifeline out of a number of industries, including culture, entertainment, and sports. It resulted in multiple local and national events being postponed or simply cancelled.
The data, Mr. Speaker, shows that between March and June 2020, more than 10,000 community bars were closed. 560 round robins were not held. Usually there are at least 60 per week. The festivals and events economy, including such activities as Calabash Literary Festival, Caribbean Fashion Week, Style Week, and over 7,200 events that would have been held in towns and communities across Jamaica were all shuttered. Also losing out have been our elite sportsmen and sportswomen. One athlete, Mr. Speaker, reported losing 14 million Jamaican dollars since March. We estimate that as much as 26 billion Jamaican dollars has been lost, and more than 40,000 creative and sports-related jobs have been affected since COVID.
Ms. Grange says much needed support is being given to athletes and members of the creative industries.
Through the National Registry of Entertainment and Creative Industry practitioners in my ministry, we have been supporting applications for relief through the CARE program. We have been using the e-registry, Mr. Speaker, to validate that, say, Tom Strokes, who says he's an entertainer or an entertainment practitioner, is indeed a member of the industry and his application should be considered. I use this opportunity to encourage entertainment and creative industry practitioners to sign up to the registry. Individual registration since March has increased by more than 1,000 over the similar period last year, and company registrations have increased by 87%. Learning from the experience with creative industries practitioners, we're also moving to an athletes management system and registry to give support to athletes as they emerge from COVID-19. The athletes management system and registry will assist in the development of policy and programs and will help to calculate the contribution of sport to national development. I appeal to athletes, coaches, and other stakeholders in the sports sector to sign up to the registry. We have already received names and TRN of all the players in the Premier League clubs.
The $40 million is in addition to the amount to be paid under the CARE program. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
In the meantime, Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie has outlined a range of protocols for the phased reopening of the entertainment industry. Simone Absalom has the details in this report.
The local government minister says nightclub operations are still a no-go, but events like festivals and tent meetings can be held for the next 2 weeks.
And these events will include concerts, parties, round robin, launches, religious celebration, and the religious celebration means baptism.
The move follows a meeting between Minister Mackenzie and representatives of the entertainment industry. When making his statement in Parliament, the minister said social distancing and wearing masks is a given at all events.
Arising out of the meeting, the event must come to an end 1 hour before the start of the nightly curfew. Well, the curfew is at 11, so 10. No more than 280 people can gather for any one event. 280. 50 patrons and the other 30 represents the promoters, the musicians, etc. 280. Again, yes. So 250 patrons and 30 additional production personnel, including performers and staff. There must be signs such as tape on the floors or other markings to ensure that the people attending observe the necessary protocols. The bar area is only to be used for purchasing of drinks. No gathering is allowed. A point that is critical when we speak about the round robin. Obstruction of vehicular traffic and access to public thoroughfare will not be allowed.
He said all entertainment events are subject to inspection from relevant authorities.
There will be a sensitization and monitoring team comprising the Social Development Commission, the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Health, as we take a joint-up government approach, which will see, Mr. Speaker, the employment of over 1,000 young people across the country to ensure the effectiveness of this exercise. 350 will come from the Ministry of Local Government Youth Summer Employment Program, and the remaining portion will come from the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and a period of training would have already commenced, Mr. Speaker, as we seek to put in place the necessary mechanism to monitor, to ensure that we get as much compliance as possible with the latest rounds of orders that we are putting out.
Mr. Mackenzie also announced that sports bars will be allowed to reopen.
But all of these facilities must first obtain the requisite approval license from the local authorities and the necessary certification of safety from the Jamaica Fire Brigade in order for these establishments to be reopened.
Amusement parks and water attractions have also been given the green light, but
again, the same will follow. Commencing on the 21st, they will be allowed to operate between the hours of 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. These facilities including gaming arcades for young children and young adults. And I want to make the point that these gaming lounges must not be confused with the ones where they go to gamble.
he warned that this 2-week relaxation of the lockdown on the entertainment sector must not be abused. Simone Absalom for the news on PBCJ.
Jamaica has recorded 3 new COVID-19 cases and 15 more recoveries in the last 24 hours. This brings to 762 the total number of positives and to 643 the number of recoveries. The newly confirmed cases are all imported and are comprised of 2 females and a male. Their ages range from 27 to 55 years. 2 of the cases are tourists who stayed in St. James, and a Jamaican who stayed in Kingston and St. Andrew have repatriated. The 3rd individual is a Jamaican resident. Currently, there are 244 imported cases, 236 cases that are contacts of confirmed cases, 39 local transmission cases not epidemiologically linked, 236 related to the workplace cluster in St. Catherine, and 7 under investigation. Approximately $60 million has been raised from the Telethon Jamaica Together We Stand event held in April towards procuring personal protective equipment for frontline workers to fight COVID-19.
Mr. Speaker, we have collected the majority of the money that was pledged during the broadcast on air and online and forwarded to the account of the National Health Fund, which has been procuring PPE for frontline workers in the battle against COVID-19.
The Bustamante Hospital for Children now has 4 additional maternal neonatal high dependency units, HDU. The €22 million HDUs were handed over on Tuesday and is funded by the European Union. The units creates 10 specialized bed spaces that will improve the institution's capacity to treat sick children.
We can all appreciate the worry and stress that parents and the entire family experience when a child is very sick. We hope that this unit will offer some comfort to the families of those who will require the services offered here, for it is well equipped and the staff are highly trained. And I'm particularly proud because the top quality equipment comes from many European countries, and it is really the best that Europe has to offer today.
This facility, it adds to a number of other things that we're going to be doing at the Bustamante Hospital for Children, and it adds significantly to a series of other things that are going to be done for pediatric and adolescent care. And indeed, for mothers, for maternal care also. And that again is something that, as a member of the administration, I'm very proud of, coming to the end of a tenure in our very vibrant and healthy democracy. This country, Jamaica, has seen a plan for pediatric and adolescent care, maternal care, that encompasses not just this institution, but other institutions. As you know, and again in keeping with the strong partnership, we're constructing a brand new hospital in St. James at the Cornwall Regional Hospital compound. This is a 220-bed facility, which will be both pediatric and adolescent care. And that is a work in progress. It's under construction as we speak. And that is going to add significant additional capacity, certainly on that side of the country, Western Jamaica, which will ease some of the pressure of Bustamante Hospital for Children in terms of the required specialist care that is required.
Other HDUs have already been established at the Spanish Town, Victoria Jubilee, and the St. Anne's Bay hospitals. The dependency units are among the deliverables under the Program for the Reduction of Maternal and Child Mortality, PROMAC. It seeks to improve child mortality and reduce maternal mortality. Leader of government business in the House, Carl Samuda, has tabled a motion on behalf of Prime Minister Andrew Holness during Tuesday's sitting of Parliament that has sparked speculation.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Prime Minister, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, he will move to introduce and have for the first time a bill shortly entitled The Representation of the People's Amendment Act 2020.
Reports are rife that the amendment will allow for local government and general elections to be held at the same time. There has been debate on the feasibility of holding both elections together, especially when their due dates fall within a close range. And time now for the latest business and share market news from business reporter Gabrielle Thompson in today's Business Report.
In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 3,306 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 82 stocks, of which 29 advanced, 40 declined, and 13 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 33 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Access Financial Services, and CAC 2000 Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments, Burrito Investments Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Trading firm were AMG Packaging and Paper Company, Caribbean Cream Limited, and Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with 21.9 million units, followed by Grace Kennedy Limited with 2.7 million units and Mailpack Group Limited with 2.2 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Tuesday, July 14, ended trading at $144.04. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $106.36. The pound sterling traded for $183.20, and the euro ended trading at $163.55. Oil prices rose on Wednesday after a sharp drop in U.S. crude inventories, with the market waiting for OPEC and its allies to decide on the easing of output curbs later in the day as the global economy slowly recovers from the COVID-19 pandemic. Brent crude futures were up 35 cents to $43.25 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 38 cents to $40.67 a barrel. And that's it for the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
The human papillomavirus HPV causes cervical cancer, according to the World Health Organization, and is the fourth most common cancer in women. Obstetrician and gynecologist Dr. Rishi Chand tells us more about it and how it can be treated in this Living Healthy report with Simone Absalom.
Dr. Chand, thanks so much for agreeing to speak with us.
Thank you.
All right, so how does cervical cancer occur or happen?
Okay. It usually happens after exposure to a virus called human papillomavirus, or HPV for short. These cells in sexually active individuals, and it does not mean penetrative intercourse only. It could be genital to genital, it could be oral to genital, or it could be hand to genital. Irrespective of the way it's crossed, HPV is the culprit. There are many different forms of HPV, close to 200 different types, of which certain amount of them are oncogenic or cancer causing. So these HPV viruses attack a specific area of the cervix where there's lots of mitotic, lots of cell division going on. So that area is vulnerable. Once it affects those cells, it can cause changes in those cells, which can go from precancerous to cancerous. So in doing a pap smear, an individual is able to pick up these changes well in advance of it becoming cancerous. So that's the whole point of doing the pap smear, when you can pick up the problem before it becomes advanced, and so you can treat it adequately.
Cervical cancer typically doesn't cause noticeable symptoms in the early stages. Because of this, it is recommended that women get a pap smear test done to detect abnormal cells in your cervix. If left untreated, those abnormal cells could develop into cancer.
It's one of the top 3 leading cancers causing mortality.
Are there any symptoms that you can see to show whether or not you should be tested or that you do have it?
Once the cervix becomes diseased, it may start to produce more of a discharge. Okay, and this discharge is usually very foul smelling. Also, during intercourse, one may see blood. Because the cervix is so inflamed, during intercourse it's traumatized and you might see blood. In late stage cancers, it can actually spread into the vagina itself, from the cervix into the vagina. And even later stages, it can go into the bladder, in which cases you might see blood in the urine, or it might even go into the rectum. Right? So it can spread depending on the stage. So the symptoms depend on the stage. Now, patients might have a discharge and they go to the doctor, and sometimes they're prescribed medication without that doctor looking at the cervix, which is bad practice. But it's very common. Patients complain of a symptom and they're given a prescription without adequate examination. And that's a missed opportunity to look and see if something is wrong with the cervix. If a patient keeps getting treated for vaginal infections and they notice despite all the treatments it's not working well, it might well be worth investigating the cervix, because the problem might be coming from there.
Are there any other activities that we can do that can help to prevent cervical cancer? You mentioned abstinence, HPV. I hear persons talking about eating healthy and staying active that can reduce your chances. Is that so?
Well, a good immune system, one would, like I said earlier, most people clear the HPV virus, most people. And that would entail having a good immune system. So once you're in good health, good dietary practice, exercising, once you're in good health, your immune system should be in good working order to clear. It's just a few patients, for whatever reason, who are vulnerable. And those are the ones we're trying to target, or we're trying to pick up when we do our pap smears.
In regional news, there were sighs of relief from students in Barbados after completing the common entrance exam. Over 3,500 students took the test that determines their entrance to secondary school. We have more in this Barbados Today report.
Acting Chief Education Officer Joy Adamson said health protocols were in place, including temperature checks, the sanitizing of hands, and physical distancing. She noted a few students became ill, but they were given extra time to complete the test, and those who couldn't will be given an alternative date. The examination wrapped up about 1 p.m. and students shared their experiences with our news team.
Today's examination, it was good, but the math was a little bit hard. But I still got it done.
Okay, and how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling happy that it's over with.
Right, and what are you hoping for?
I'm hoping that to get my choice of my school.
What's that choice?
St. Leonard's.
I feel pretty good. I'm glad it's over because it was real much pressure on us because we had to push really hard, and I think we deserve all of this because we come really far and we teacher push us and we teacher get some of the credit too.
I feel glad because I had get a little bit time to rest because I worked so hard to pass for my school pass for Springer. My mommy want me to go to Springer.
The exam was pretty easy. Especially, I thought it was going to be hard, but it was pretty easy actually.
So you read carefully and you answered all of your questions?
Yes, I read very carefully and I actually managed to answer all my questions. Yes, please.
Okay, what school are you hoping to pass?
I am hoping to pass for a Combimere.
It was scared, but I do what I had to do. I get out of the room
as quick as possible, and that was it.
You get as well as possible. So, did you read all the questions carefully and answer them carefully?
Yes, please.
Okay, I hope so. What school are you hoping to go to?
Dayton Griffith.
Dayton. How was the math in the unit?
Well, the math was kind of hard, but I got through with the English.
The Trinidad and Tobago government has delivered to that country its very first agro-processing park at a cost of $19 million. The agro-processing park was officially opened in the village of Moruga. Karen Cozier-Phillips attended the opening ceremony and filed this report.
Dr. Keith Rowley officially opened the Moruga Agro-Processing Park at Saunders Trace on Tuesday. The Prime Minister recalled that in 2015 he made a promise to constituents of Moruga Tableland. He said his vision was to bring change and opportunity, as there is tremendous potential in the area. The Prime Minister said that the government has provided the infrastructure, and now he's inviting farmers and entrepreneurs to come and stay in the business. He described the Moruga Agro-Processing Park as an investment opportunity to participate in national production. The Prime Minister said the government realized that it is important that the nation be fed, and that's why the government has made agriculture a lucrative business. He said any investment made by farmers, their profits are tax-free. The Prime Minister identified two industries that can benefit from the Moruga Agro-Processing Park: the cocoa industry and the pineapple industry. He said cocoa has a future, and cocoa farmers can now look to production and invest in new cocoa species. He said pineapple farmers can also contribute to reducing the food import bill.
Here in Trinidad and Tobago, some of the best pineapples are grown in this country. So then, why are we importing pineapple if we have the potential to grow and to supply to those pizza toppings? This is what this factory shell means.
The Moruga Agro-Processing Park was built at a cost of $90 million. Karen Cozier-Phillips, TTT News.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, small contractors are calling on the government for jobs and money they lost when the company they had been subcontracted to was terminated from the Point 14 highway project. Ian Watson has the details in this report.
These small contractors say they were subcontracted by Brazilian firm OAS Contractor to work on the Point 14 highway when the firm was the main contractor. But they say since OAS was fired from the project and made to repay the government, local small contractors were also left without work. According to spokesman Alistair Ramarak, some of these contractors have been compromised.
There are also some contractors that have millions of dollars in materials that is to be used in the highway.
Mr. Ramarak says each time they have dialogue with the National Infrastructure Development Company Limited, they are being told that NIDCO has to speak with the minister.
I know today you could communicate to people in Mars and in the moon, but unfortunately NIDCO can't communicate, they can't get an answer from the Minister of Works.
He is asking why OAS workers were not paid with the money the government recovered from OAS.
If this government was people-oriented, this government received $900 million from the OAS bond. They say that, not me. Why it is the government didn't take $18 million of that and pay out the poor OAS workers that they still owing?
As to the timing of their protest, he is adamant it's not political, stressing they have tried talking to NIDCO in the past to come to a resolution.
Every time we come out to the media and we go to set up here, it's because they would have called us to have a meeting. Just like this morning. So they call us first thing this morning.
So they call you to a meeting again this morning?
Yeah, and we say no, this time we're going to make sure that the media hear our cry.
When TTT News contacted Minister of Works Rohan Sinanan, he told us that the payment of the OAS workers is the responsibility of OAS, but the government paid them in good faith. In December 2016, the government met with the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, and the workers were in fact paid. Minister Sinanan also said the government cannot force the local contractors who are now spearheading the project and are already using local contractors to subcontract the work. Ian Wason, TTT News.
In sports, Minister of Sports Olivia Grange has reiterated the protocols for the resumption of sporting activities in Jamaica.
We have been in discussion with our stakeholders, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, as well as the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, as we regroup and re-engineer for a phased reopening of the sectors. So far, government has approved protocols for national track and field athletes to resume training at Independence Park, no spectators.
And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.